Hello everyone, welcome to Straight Talks Have Fun. And as I said, I'm gonna bring a what if episode in this summer break. Now, this is something I wanted to do for a long time. There's so much to talk about Fernando Alonso's career choices, so many what ifs about his career. Like, I could do a special what if series on Alonso's career choices itself. But yeah, jokes apart, there are so many scenarios to think about. Had he not switched to a certain team, had he not underestimated a certain rookie, of course, some of the most obvious ones come to mind is had he scored 10 more points, we could have easily seen Alonso become a 5 time world champion. But that did not happen. 2007, 2010, 2012, all those championships could have been his with 10 or 12 more points to his name. But yeah, that's how it panned out in our reality. Now, if I look into an alternate universe like Loki, had Alonso made one particular career choice, which is joining Brawn GP in 2009, and then stuck with that choice, his career would have turned completely upside down. The way we know it, Hamilton's career trajectory could have been completely different, and it also would have affected Vettel and Raikkonen because their futures are linked over here in those 5-6 years from 2009 to 2014. But yeah, to start this what if episode, let's first understand Fernando Alonso's situation in 2008 and 9. What was that Brawn GP offer? Why did he reject it? And what other scenarios could have panned out in that situation? Now, after leaving McLaren in 2007, Alonso was looking for a competitive seat. At that particular point of time, it was only Ferrari. Renault had dropped off after 2006 and he experienced that in 2008 itself. So he was targeting that Ferrari seat in 2009. Now, of course, Raikkonen was there, so they had to cut a deal with Raikkonen to exit to make way for Alonso in 2010. And there were also rumors that he could replace David Coulthard at Red Bull in 2009. Now, where does Brawn GP feature in all this? Now, Brawn GP, if anyone doesn't know, they were Honda before. The history of that team is like they were BAR Honda in the early 2000s. Then Honda came in 2006 and became the Works team. And it is still the Brackley team as we know Mercedes now. They had bases in Brackley and Brixworth. And it was only until the 2008 recession that shook the world economy. That's when Honda pulled out. And Honda pulling out of F1 was sort of a failure of that project because they were being ambitious to be a dominant force in Formula 1 and that did not pan out. Barring Jenson Button's win in 2006 in Hungary, there was not much to highlight about those 3 years of Honda. So nobody expected them to be good in 2009 and them selling that team to Brawn GP. Naturally, the same expectation carried over to Brawn GP as well. Nobody expected them to be as competitive as they turned out to be. That overall was completely unexpected, but it happened because there were some reports that Honda's 2009 car is very good and they could compete for the championship. Because in 2009 a regulation change happened and they found the loophole of the double diffuser at that point. It was only Red Bull and Toyota besides them who found that loophole. So all that led to Brawn GP being competitive, but in 2008 Alonso would not have foreshadowed that. The way Honda was performing, you can't expect Alonso or even Ross Brawn for that matter to expect that kind of competitiveness. Now Ross Brawn and Nick Fry, these were the two people at Honda. Ross Brawn of course coming from Ferrari with all that championship experience. So had Alonso put his faith in Brawn, that could have been game changing for his career. And even Ross Brawn said that Alonso was at the top of his shopping list for 2009. They had Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello, but they were looking at Alonso, and Alonso being the 2-time champion, he's been the most sought after driver and the most talented driver on the grid after Schumacher tailed off. But Alonso declined that opportunity to wait out for the Ferrari seat in 2010. And that made sense at that point of time as well. But had Alonso taken the Brawn offer, Nick Fry said that he would have been a 4-time world champion at least. Now that counts 2009 and 2014 at least, provided that he stays at Mercedes till 2014. Now that's what I'm going to speculate in this episode. The butterfly effect, the domino effect of this move that Alonso joined Brawn GP in 2009 and how it impacts his career, how it impacts the championship tally, and at the same time, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, how it impacts them. Because Alonso's moves also would have affected Hamilton and Vettel to some extent. Because naturally, Hamilton has been the North Star for Mercedes since 2013. So, with Alonso being there, Mercedes would have never hired Hamilton. But yeah, let's look at what could have been Alonso's career like. Now, as Jenson Button did, Alonso also wins the 2009 championship easily. The way they started that season, it was quite incredible. And even if they tailed off towards the end of that season, with Red Bull and Vettel catching up, it just highlights the importance of starting well in a championship. Any team that starts well and builds up a lead will always have some advantage towards the end of that season. And unless the chasing team is quite strong, it is always the team that takes the lead in the early stages wins the championship. That's how we've seen it in F1. Quite rarely we have seen chasing teams win the title, chasing drivers win the title. 21 is one such example. I won't count 2022 because Ferrari really tailed off a lot. But 2009 was the classic season when Brawn GP took that lead in the early stages and then they held on and Alonso wins that title instead of Button. And this is probably a Nexus event, Alonso winning in 2009 because it changes everything. It changes everything we know in F1 for the past 15-16 years. Hamilton would not get to Mercedes and all his championship glory will go to Alonso. I've speculated on that how it would pan out, but it is still a huge shocker to think about it that way that Hamilton never becomes a Mercedes driver. And Fernando Alonso sticks with Mercedes rather than making moves from Ferrari to McLaren, then retiring and then coming back. But in 2009, he would have tasted championship success after a hiatus of 2 years, and his career would have been back on track after that blot of McLaren in 2007. Because that move of McLaren in 2007 changed the trajectory of his career, I would say. So I think the Brawn GP move would have cancelled it out and he could have got his career back on track for sure. And of course, this is provided he stays with Mercedes in 2010. Here's the fork in the road. He could have still cracked the Ferrari deal for 2010. That's something interesting because Ferrari wanted Alonso and they paid Raikkonen to leave the team to make way for Alonso. So that could still happen in this timeline that Alonso joins Brawn, wins the 2009 championship, and then goes to Ferrari in 2010. Because what happened to Button? That's what he did. He won the championship with Brawn. Of course, he was with Honda. So he switched teams in 2010 to McLaren. And of course, challenged for the titles in 2010 and 12. But it was possible for Alonso to switch from Brawn GP as well. It wasn't as if it was a multi-year deal or something. Mercedes were going to take over, so there was an overhaul coming in. So here, Ross Brawn convincing Alonso to stay at Mercedes, that would have been the key factor. Nick Fry also being there till 2013. They may have convinced him on that 2014 engine program, how they're building towards it. Niki Lauda also comes in at that particular point of time. So all these big people at Brackley and Brixworth, that could have been Alonso's cue to take that bet on Mercedes and stick with them. Now here maybe Michael Schumacher's comeback doesn't happen because obviously it's a game of musical chairs. Somebody has to miss out somewhere. Raikkonen stays at Ferrari, doesn't take that sabbatical. Hamilton has to stay with McLaren in 2013. and Alonso stays with Mercedes throughout till 2014. Now, on the side note, Raikkonen staying at Ferrari, that means he would have been in Alonso's place fighting for those titles with Vettel in 2010 and 2012. And maybe he could have won one of those titles, maybe 2012. But let's say that Vettel stays a four-time champion and Raikkonen stays the 2007 champion. The key part over here is Raikkonen stays with Ferrari till 2014, and then there is a change at Ferrari in 2015 with both Raikkonen and Massa going away and Hamilton and Vettel coming in at Ferrari in 2015. So Hamilton sticks with McLaren till 2014. It doesn't work out for him. They don't deliver the championship winning car, and then he looks elsewhere to sign with Ferrari, which is the second best team I would say in 2015 besides Mercedes. But Alonso in 2014, he goes on that juggernaut like Hamilton did with Nico Rosberg as his teammate. Now, Niki Lauda doesn't go to convince Lewis Hamilton because, for obvious reasons, they have Fernando Alonso at Mercedes. So, Mercedes would be wary of pairing Hamilton and Alonso once again. Now, Rosberg obviously will form a strong team pairing with Alonso, and they would have those battles from 2014 to 2016. In 2014, Alonso runs away with the championship, becomes a four-time champion. In 2015 as well, the same story happens. But the change is that Rosberg maybe doesn't develop that bitterness for Alonso. Because he had a personal equation with Lewis as well, that's the reason it sparked their rivalry even more. With Alonso, things would have been different, I feel. There would have been a rivalry, but that would have been as pure competitors on track. I don't think either of them would have developed the bitterness as Hamilton and Rosberg did. And the kind of crashes they had in 2016, I don't think that happens in Alonso and Rosberg's case. They fight for the 2016 title as close as Hamilton and Rosberg did, but minus those crashes and collisions that we saw. And at the same time, Alonso is a five-time champion at this particular point of time. Winning 2009, 2014 and 15, that has made him a five-time champion. So he's in a much more secure place and much more accomplished place than he was in reality with McLaren. That McLaren Honda project was miserable for him. The car was nowhere near competitive, and yeah, that frustrated him a lot. Unless Rosberg gives him a really tough time, I don't think 2016 would have been as difficult for Alonso in terms of what he experienced emotionally. Even Hamilton felt quite emotional after losing that 2016 title because obviously he was on a juggernaut. He was a three-time champion at that time, aiming for his fourth, and he suffered that engine failure in Malaysia that arguably cost him the championship. So maybe Alonso has that similar engine failure, and Rosberg wins the championship by 5 points, and then he retires as he did. Now, here's the interesting part. Here, another what if episode can happen. What if Nico Rosberg never retired in 2016? This is something I would have planned and maybe even will plan sometime in the future. That is a whole different scenario that changes everything from 2017 onwards. And I have few interesting ideas for that too. But let's say for the time being, Rosberg retires and that leaves a vacant seat at Mercedes. Now, what's going on at Ferrari? Hamilton's there at Ferrari alongside Vettel. They are teammates from 2015, but they develop a rivalry despite not having a championship winning car. And when Rosberg retires, Vettel sees that opportunity and signs for Mercedes because he knows Hamilton won't sign for Mercedes with Alonso there. So that is the perfect opportunistic move by Sebastian Vettel to get back into championship contention. And one more side note over here is, would Alonso have backed Nico Rosberg as Hamilton did in Abu Dhabi? Now that's debatable. Part of me says that he would have, part of me says that he wouldn't have. So that's something I'll completely leave to your imagination. Would Alonso have backed up Rosberg as Hamilton did? By nature, he's that kind of competitive driver who would do anything to win a championship. Would he have done that? I don't know. Being a Fernando Alonso fan, I would like to think he wouldn't have. But yeah, not all hunky dory in reality. But this is my what if episode. So yeah. Now Hamilton won't naturally win any championships after 2008 because he never lands up at Mercedes. He doesn't have a championship winning car until he comes at Ferrari. And as I said, switching from McLaren to Ferrari in 2015, he develops that rivalry with Vettel. And then Vettel switches from Ferrari to Mercedes in 2017 to fill up that vacuum by Rosberg. So heading into 2017, Vettel and Alonso are teammates at Mercedes. Hamilton has Kimi Raikkonen for company, who's come in to replace Vettel in 2017 after being at Williams for 2 years. And that's how it happened in reality. He was at Lotus and then Ferrari called him back for a second stint. So here may be a shorter second stint because his first stint had been extended. But then 2017 sees a title battle between Hamilton, Alonso and Vettel. And this sees Hamilton win in Ferrari his second championship since 2008. With Alonso and Vettel being in close contention but losing out, which would have been quite shocking to many. But with Hamilton not being able to channelize his potential for so many years, almost a decade since 2008, when he gets that championship winning car from Ferrari in 2017, he makes the most of it to win his second title. And then in 2018, Alonso settles the score. He wins 2018, doesn't go to do Le Mans that year, has a full blown title battle with Vettel and Hamilton, and coming triumphant to win his sixth championship. And it is maybe Hamilton who has that crash in Germany instead of Sebastian Vettel. And from there on, Ferrari lose their edge with the car development as well. And that is where I would say that Hamilton would once again switch teams after being at Ferrari for 4 years. He won a championship in 17, but the lack of pace in 2018, and probably he has some issues with the team, that sort of makes him switch teams, and he makes a swap with the Ricciardo who wants to leave Red Bull. So that's happening as it happened in reality, but instead of heading to Renault, Ricciardo chooses Ferrari. A lot more of a smarter choice for him as well. So in 2019, that's how the driver lineups would have looked. Red Bull with Hamilton and Verstappen together as teammates, and at this point of time, their rivalry hasn't developed. So that would have been like a blockbuster lineup, and Red Bull rising in 2019 with the Honda engine and everything. Alonso and Vettel at Mercedes, and you have Ricciardo and Raikkonen at Ferrari. They don't give Charles Leclerc a promotion in 2019 itself. They wait out one more year, stick with Raikkonen's experience with Ricciardo coming in. And then in 2019, Alonso, the defending champion, a 6-time champion now, he takes some races off to do the 24 hours of Le Mans and wins Le Mans that year as he won in reality. This allows Vettel to win his 5th World Championship. Finally, his move to Mercedes pays off and he wins the title for the first time since 2013. Because at this point of time, Mercedes is still the competitive car. They are the benchmark. And Alonso doesn't mind losing that title because he won Le Mans that year by taking a few races off in F1, and he already has 6 World Championships under his belt. And he comes back in 2020 to have a dominant season like Hamilton did and wins his 7th World Championship, the record equaling 7th title to match Michael Schumacher's tally. Fernando Alonso, a 7-time world champion. So by staying with Brawn GP and Mercedes, Alonso would have added 5 more world championships to his tally. And I know this might sound quite absurd, but one career decision could have impacted several other careers, and it could have panned out that way. This is a butterfly effect where one particular choice and one particular decision, one move can impact several other moves and several other individuals and teams. So in 2020, Vettel and Alonso are at Mercedes with 5 and 7 titles respectively to their name. And Hamilton has only 2 championships, and he's at Red Bull besides Max Verstappen. So, as I said, it completely changes everything because if not Mercedes, where would have Hamilton gone? The only other two teams that remain for him to join are Ferrari and Red Bull. So, he went to Ferrari, won a championship with them, but it did not work out dynamics wise for him. That's why he went to Red Bull. And then we see the rise of Hamilton and Verstappen in 2021. Their rivalry with Alonso and Vettel at Mercedes, it makes the 2021 season even more epic than it was in reality. Now, the 2021 battle happens as it did. Hamilton and Verstappen at the forefront, but this time as teammates at Red Bull, and we have Alonso and Vettel leading the charge for Mercedes. So it is basically a four-way battle with Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, and Vettel. Now, Hamilton and Alonso will have clashes. Hamilton and Verstappen will have clashes. Maybe Vettel and Verstappen too. But Vettel is the lesser likely a contender among these four. He stays in contention till the final races, but then drops out of it. Like into Abu Dhabi, he's the least likely contender, like it was in 2010. So there is a possibility for Vettel to win in Abu Dhabi, but not as much as Hamilton and Alonso and Verstappen. So in this case, Hamilton and Alonso will be level on points like Verstappen and Hamilton were, and Max Verstappen just behind them, maybe a few points, 2 or 3 or 7 points. And the Abu Dhabi saga happens as it is, but Hamilton swapping places, and he's in Verstappen's position while Alonso is in Hamilton's position. So yeah, can we say that the justice happened, or will that still be called a robbery? But yeah, to see that a 7-time world champion chasing his record 8th title, and there is Lewis Hamilton who's only won 2 world championships in about 12-13 years, and he's chasing his 3rd title, and the 7-time champion Alonso gets the disadvantage by the safety car caused by Latifi's crash, and Hamilton gets the benefit of it. He pits under the safety car on fresher tires, overtakes Alonso on the last lap, wins his 3rd championship. So as I said, the tables will turn. If Alonso is getting Hamilton's glory, obviously he will also get the setbacks later on. And here Vettel and Verstappen don't win the title. 2021 does not see Verstappen's maiden championship, and Sebastian Vettel retires in 2021 itself. With the new regulations coming in, he's won 5 championships, so he sees it's perfect to move away and make way for George Russell. So that pans out as it did. We never see Valtteri Bottas at Mercedes, just on a side note. But I'm not going to go into that, who stays where in the entire driver market over these 10 years. I already shed light on the top 3, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, how their driver lineups would be. So Vettel and Raikkonen both retired in 21. Raikkonen obviously retired in 21 itself. Let's say Vettel retires a year earlier as a 5-time champion. Alonso stays put at Mercedes alongside Russell, and Charles Leclerc comes in at Ferrari to replace Raikkonen, finally getting that promotion from Sauber. And 2022 sees that Verstappen-Hamilton battle as Red Bull teammates, and this is when Verstappen beats Hamilton and wins his maiden championship. So in 2022, we have Fernando Alonso, a 7-time champion. Vettel is retired as a 5-time champion, and Hamilton is a 3-time champion. And this is where I would like to stop this what if scenario, because yeah, we have almost reached the current season, and I think I have explored enough of what a domino effect it would have been had Fernando Alonso joined Brawn GP in 2009 and stayed with Mercedes throughout his career. Naturally, it affects Hamilton in a big way. He wins 4 less championships, Vettel wins 1 more championship, and Alonso wins 5 championships in total. So that is a huge change in the entire history of Formula One over the past 15 years. And yes, of course, it could have panned out otherwise as well. We may not have seen Mercedes as competitive, but I've made these speculations, I've made these imaginations, considering that the team's competitive order remains the same. It's just that the drivers are in different seats and different teams. Vettel switching to Mercedes in 2017, Alonso sticking it out with Mercedes, Hamilton switching to Ferrari and then Red Bull. While one of that move is happening in reality now with Hamilton moving to Ferrari in 2025, to see Hamilton at Red Bull besides Max Verstappen with Alonso at Mercedes, I mean, and Vettel at Mercedes too. So it just shows the extent of possibilities where one decision can impact several others, as I said earlier. So yeah, that was the What If episode about if Fernando Alonso had moved to Brawn GP in 2009. Of course, this was complete speculation, and I've kept it as realistic as possible, considering the team's pecking order, the competitiveness at different points of time, and the driver market dynamics as well, with several drivers coming in at several points of time. We have Russell and Leclerc towards the end of the scenario. Leclerc gets that Ferrari promotion about 3 years later, after Raikkonen retires. And of course, Raikkonen has to go to Williams for a couple of years, with Vettel and Hamilton both coming at Ferrari. But this is purely speculation. For all the Hamilton fans, obviously it would be hurtful to imagine that he would have been only a 3-time world champion, with Fernando Alonso being a 7-time champion. But yeah, I'm a Fernando Alonso fan, so that's how I wanted to speculate it. But after 2020, we could see Hamilton and Verstappen dominating. And maybe Hamilton wins more championships, who knows? In this alternate timeline, at this stage, Hamilton would have been in a race winning car, which he is right now, but he would have been in a Red Bull. And I don't know what could have happened. Would one of them have switched teams because of their intense rivalry tipping off as teammates? Maybe, maybe not. But it was fun to speculate upon this. To imagine Fernando Alonso becoming a 7-time champion with Mercedes. To imagining Vettel winning a 5th championship with Mercedes. And been a while since I did a What If episode. The last one was Max Verstappen moving to Mercedes in March earlier this year. I don't know if I'll do one more in this summer break before the Dutch GP comes around. But it was fun to do a What If episode and speculate on one of my favorite topics and one of my favorite drivers as well. But yeah, that's all from my end in this episode. Arigato and stay tuned until next time.